Hi guys, Brand here, and welcome to another narrated match video. Today we're going to be doing tips on how to improve and play as the killer Pinhead. As requested by our good friend Wayno Insano, we are going to be trying to teach you guys better tips and better ways to play this very complicated character. This character was especially challenging for me because he's a character I particularly struggle with. He is complicated because there's kind of a lot to do with him that's very specific to him that doesn't really have a lot of rollover that you can carry on from other characters. For example, if you're playing someone like Huntress, that aim carries over if you play somebody like Deathslinger. Even though they function differently, you're still having to aim at the center of your screen and worry about the travel time of the projectile. That carries over. There's not a whole lot of overlap with the Cenobite, good old Pinhead, and the other characters. So you have to learn some very specific things, which we will talk about in this video, that will make you a better Pinhead player. And these are the things you kind of put time into in order to get the most out of him. So the two things you want to excel at as Pinhead in order to being a good Pinhead is hitting good chase chains, or summons of pain as they're called. Hitting good chains and chase, and having good chains that you consistently hit even though they're hard to hit, and having good box logic. And mastering the box logic is probably one of the most important things about this character because his main strength comes from his chain hunt. That's kind of where you exert the most macro pressure on the map. So learning how to shorten your chases by being good with your summons of pain and having good box logic will be how you master this character. And this build is kind of a Fisher-Price's first Pinhead build. It's going to help you master both of those things. The add-ons are both cooldown for your summons of pain, which is your chase power, using your chains and chase to slow people down. So both the Skewered Rat and the Leather Strip will help you with your cooldown on your power, because you want to be using this power as much as possible to master it, because it's not optional. If you run in there, if you run into a Pinhead match and you're just throwing your summons of pain and you're missing every single hook, you're going to have a really bad time. You need to be hitting your chains as this character. So having these two add-ons will help you practice this freely with having that extra bit of cooldown. That way you're actually able to, get that practice in. As for the build, Barbecue is always there for a sort of blood point aspect to it, but this does actually have a functionality with the build that we are doing, because what we're trying to do with our perks besides Corrupt, which is just there to give you time to learn the character, our perks are all based around determining the box logic. Because if you don't know this, the box will always spawn away from both you and the survivors. The Lament configuration, the box, will always spawn away from you and the survivors. So these three perks are going to help you with that. Lethal Pursuer, in the first 9 seconds of the match, you see all survivors. That way, when you see them, you know where you are in relation to where they are. And so you go to the area where everybody's not, both where you're not and where they're not, and you're likely to find a box and start a chain hunt early. Order is in the event that they beat you to the box and they pick it up, you get a notification before they even start working on the box that this has been picked up. And also throughout the match, as the survivors go to pick up the box, you will be notified of it by the perk Order. Barbecue usually is here mostly just for blood points, but in regards to Pinhead, this also helps because, like I said, the box logic is that it will always spawn away from both you and the survivors. If you hook somebody on hook and you see the aura of survivors on the opposite side of the map, you can once again configure, where am I compared to where they're standing, and have a good idea of where the box has spawned in between you guys somewhere or away from you guys somewhere. Like I said, Corrupt is still here to just slow down the game, to give you more time to practice your chains and to practice your box logic. And Corrupt will probably be on most of these builds when I'm talking about good builds to learn a character, because Corrupt just stops a group of gen rushers from flying you out of the game super early and give you some time to actually practice the things that you need to practice in order to get better at said character. So expect Corrupt in most of our builds. Okay, so we're going to go in, we're going to play a few matches. I'm going to pick one that I feel like best demonstrates good logic and good tips for Pinhead that I can give to you and that I can analyze and teach you how to get better at said character. So I'm going to go play those. I'm going to pick one, and then we're going to narrate over it. I'm going to give you tips. So I'll see you on that end of things. All right, so we find ourselves on Disturbed Ward, which is typically a very challenging map for killers, but it does end up going our way because of our Pinhead fundamentals. So I want to point something out here right as we come out of the gate here. We're not even going to get 2 seconds in the video before I point something out here. So I told you one of the two most important things to do in terms of Pinhead, the two things you got to do to be good at Pinhead, is hit your chains, hit your summons of pain, but also be good with the box logic. And it is a perfect time to show off the box's logic. So you see it disappears from your hand at the very, very beginning of the match. And from the point that it disappears from your hand at the very, very beginning of the match, it spawns somewhere on the map. Because I have Lethal Pursuer, I see where the survivors spawn. So there's a little area in front of me where it cannot spawn. So there's a big bubble out in front of where I am where it cannot spawn. So it's quite literally impossible for it to be able to spawn anywhere between me and the main building because the game accounts for that. It doesn't want it spawning the Lament configuration too close to the killer. So it's impossible for it to be in this little bubble in front of me. But it's also impossible for it to spawn right on top of the survivors. So I know already that the Lament configuration, the box, is nowhere near in front of me. It's nowhere between me and the main building here, but it's also not anywhere near them or the main building over there. So that leaves this little curve over here from the left to the top to search for. And when I move out here, I'm gonna go, oh crap, there's survivors over there. So that limits even further our place because it can't spawn near them either. It's not allowed to spawn by those survivors either. So that leaves the front lane in front of me. So it's either inside of the main building itself or it is on the other side. So I start going immediately that way because I know just based on where people have spawned in the places it can't spawn that it has to be either in this main building or on the other side of it because that's the only place it can spawn because it's not allowed to spawn near any of the active players. So I'm going to go search there and look over here for the box. Unfortunately, Nia does beat us to it, but you see that I was exactly correct on where it was. So compared to where I first spawned in, and the box disappears, it's literally directly in front of me all the way at the other edge of the map. Precisely is what we predicted based on there being people there to the right and there being people there on the left as well. So Nia beats us to the box, which is fine, because downing somebody with the box is just as important as finding the box. We just have to a little bit of extra steps to get the desired effect that we want by finding the box, which is chaining everybody and starting a chain out immediately. This part is very, very important because this is important to you mastering these summons of pain. The summons of pain is probably the hardest part of his power because, to be honest, once you get the box logic down, it's pretty easy to understand, oh, well, it doesn't spawn near me or the survivors at any given point, so I just need to go where none of us are. That's pretty to the point for the most part. The part that starts getting very hard are the summons of pain, the chains that you throw naturally as your M2. The problem is if the little blue, because every time you decide to lay down a summons of chain or summons of pain, a little blue kind of node, I'll call it a blue node, shows up. And the survivors can physically see this. So what you're seeing right now is my perspective from the node. So this little blue outline around me. The survivors can see that node appear and spawn in front of them, and then they can react to it accordingly. What I see a lot of really bad or emerging pinheads do is they'll throw the summons of pain, they'll throw the little node really far away from the survivors. So in a split second, they have to figure out where the survivor is, point the node at the survivor, and then throw the chain at them. And while that chain is usually traveling because they've taken so much time to do that, they've given the survivor a lot of time to react to the chain, so the survivor usually dodges. So what I like to do is what you see me do in this scenario, is that I throw the chain almost directly on top of the survivor. I throw it like literally almost right on top of her model. That way when the chain comes out, there's no ambiguity, there's no chance for it to miss. I just throw it almost directly on top of her, so it's almost a guaranteed chain. And then I get the wonderful box, which means I start my chain hunt very, very early, and everybody gets initially hooked, and I get the notification bubbles on where everybody is. So it's equal parts info and a chain out, which is super effective. Chain out is probably the most powerful part of your kit. This is what allows you to have that macro pressure, because suddenly everybody has a hard time healing, everybody has a hard time doing gens, everybody has a hard time chasing. Essentially, it kind of skews the game very, very heavily in your favor for basically doing not much else on your part besides just kind of finding the box to begin with. So yeah, it's very, very important to initiate as many chain hunts as possible. This part's very, very important. I do mess it up, but it's very, very important what we're about to see here with the Steve and the box, which is Michaela's conveniently running towards. So what I try to do here as I try to chain Steve to try and get him to stop from doing the box. Now, the effect is the same. You want to be doing this no matter what. So if you are aware through either Hoarder or just, you know, you have an idea of where the survivor has the box is, and they're doing the box right there, you want to stop them from completing the box. Like I said, getting as many chain hunts as possible is incredibly important to playing this character efficiently and getting the most pressure out of them. So you want to prevent them from getting that box done. So often you can just run at the survivor and, you know, hit them. But in this case, he's in a tile. I don't know what resources he has or what kind of tile it is from this perspective, because I haven't been back here yet, because I spawned in front of this tile when I first came in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw my Summons of Pain out. And even though I don't hit him, I get him to stop doing the box and he starts running away. Now, hitting somebody with the Summons of Pain does stop them from completing the box. So either way, this is a win-win. It stops them from doing the box, which is super helpful for you. So I end up in the same situation I start off with the Nia, where I'm like, okay, well, once again, I'm chasing the person with the box. And once I down this person, I'm going to start a brand new chain hunt and get that ball rolling with the pressure all over again. And you kind of want to, if you can, the best you can, kind of get into this like wash, rinse, repeat scenario where you're find the person who's doing the box, stop them from doing the box. Now, this is a mistake I make. This is a mistake I make, and this is important for you. Very, very important for you. This is a mistake I make, and as Yoda, Master Yoda has said, failure, the best teacher is. So let's look here. So I am a little bit of a goober. I know Steve's over here. I'm chasing him because I want to get the box from him. He grabs the little thing, and I swing. And guess what? He has the magical E key, which means, you know, he's better than me at the video game because he brings a single perk in and he presses a single key. But Pinhead is one of the best characters in the game for stopping this exact scenario without any special add-ons, without any special perks. Because while somebody is chained by the Summons of Pain, they are not able to activate any of their exhaustion perks. They are not able to dead hard. They're not able to activate sprint burst. They're not allowed to do any of that. So if I had thrown a Summons of Pain and chained up Steve before I swung here, the dead hard wouldn't have happened. Luckily, we're at the back of a tile, which means that this kind of like relatively doesn't matter for the most part. There's kind of no drawback to this because we were at the back of the tile. He doesn't dead hard to a resource, so we're mostly safe here. But in the future, if you suspect somebody may have dead hard, chain them first with Summons of Pain. That way they're not able to use their exhaustion perk. Like I said, luckily enough here, I am not in any danger because Steve is not going to make it to the pallet. And I start another chain hunt, and I get a good idea of where everybody is because I found the box again. As you're seeing, this is kind of the cycle you want to be in for this character over and over and over again. As you can see, the chain hunt is very oppressive. Nia was just trying to heal up over there, and she's still not allowed to because she's now just being harassed by chains. And for some reason, Michaela just runs into me. Bless her heart. Poor thing. But yeah, as you can see, the chain hunt is very, very oppressive, and it requires nothing from you. Steve is giving up on Hook in the background because he does not want to be oppressed anymore by the chain hunt. Now, this is a very, very important thing, because this is a question I see a lot when people are learning Pinhead or trying to get used to Pinhead. Is when do I teleport while somebody's doing the box, and when do I not teleport when I'm doing the box? So I'm going to give you two scenarios that are beneficial for you for when you should teleport to the box. Right now, Nia is injured. Nia is an injured survivor, and she is the one that has found the box and is doing the box. Essentially what happens is, unless she's near a resource or is able to get away swiftly, this is almost a free down because she is injured and she is doing the box, and you teleport right on top of her and you start a chase immediately. Unless she's just in a nest of just like the opposite of a dead zone, you are probably going to get that down within like 15 seconds of teleporting over there. And, you know, that's really, really good for you. I know that, you know, you're not in a situation where you can, you know, get the box from her, because whenever you teleport, it does reset the timer. The chain, there's no chain hunt that follows. It's basically just back to the beginning of the match. But that free down is very, very helpful. Also, another good time that is to teleport is even if they're healthy, if there's something over there you want to defend. If you know that that gen they've been working on, they've been trying to greed that gen at that corner of the map, and somebody's doing the box relatively in that corner of the map, use it as free map traversal. If you want to go there to pressure that area, like say somebody's getting an unhook in that area, that's another good example. If you know somebody's getting an unhook and somebody's doing the box near the hook where the person's getting unhooked, you could pressure 3 people at once by teleporting near that area. So think about where they are and if they're injured as kind of like your main motivators to teleport to the box. See, she has a pallet. Now, this is a fun thing. Once again, like I said, failure is the best teacher. I told you earlier, put the chain directly on top of them, because that'll help you a lot in terms of actually hitting them. I do it a little too well. I put this chain directly where she's about to be. And what she does, instead of throwing the pallet immediately, is she, for some reason, comes back into the pallet and then back out and then drops it. So I actually missed this chain because she moved awkwardly. So you can see here that equal parts putting the chain near them is important, but also being able to predict what survivors do is very, very important. You want to put the summons of pain somewhere, put that little node somewhere where you think the survivor is going. Because right here, what this Nia does is she messes with my expectations of where she should be. I think there's no reason for her to run back into me, because that would be silly, but she does it because she knows I'm going to miss my chain. Now she gets the pallet drop, and I'm not going to be able to hit her. So she kind of messes with my expectations there. Now, in this scenario, she would have got the pallet drop either way, but it's still good to chain the survivor here, because you can't run away while you're chained up. So you have to struggle or break the chains on the environment before you're able to leave. So even if you're not going to get the hit and somebody drops the pallet right there, it's still good to chain them, because you can save time in chase, because you can start kicking the pallet while they're still restrained by the chains and save yourself some distance to catch up to them. This character's got a lot going on, and it's why they're hard, and why I had to literally play Pinhead on stream for like 2 or 3 days straight to kind of like teach you like the best ways to play this character, because they're a character that it's one of those characters, if you stop playing them for a long time, you kind of like you get a lot of rust. Like you kind of forget the things that you got to do to be efficient with them, because a lot of things that they do to be efficient is kind of like things that only apply to them. You know, it's not like stuff that you carry over from other characters. So, you know, I had to de-rust a lot to be able to make this video for you guys. And you know what's funny? You know what's very funny? Every match I recorded for this, I recorded 4 matches, and I got a 4K every single match. So this character is very, very strong. Yeah, I thought it was interesting that even while I was playing badly, I was still pulling out literally 4K victories because of that. Because even doing a little bit of the fundamentals with this character, which is hitting your summons of pain and finding the box well, like even when I wasn't doing that the best, doing one or the other was helping me reach a victory. So this little thing I did right here in this chase with Michaela is super important as well. And I want to point this out to you, because this is another thing that a lot of pinheads do very, very wrong. When I'm watching somebody play pinhead, I watch them do this and it makes me cringe. And this is an example of what you should be doing. So Michaela's running over here, and she's out in the open. What a lot of pinheads would do in this situation is they would put out a summons of pain, put out a node, and chain her from here. Now, this is a very, very bad idea to do. You do not want to throw a summons of pain. You do not want to chain somebody right here, because essentially you're back here. So I'm like 4 or 5 meters away. I'm like 5 meters away from her. I throw out summons of pain. I hit her with the chain, and what happens? She's really, really far away. So she's going to break her chains on some of these pillars here to the left and to the right, and then keep running. And essentially what's happened is I've slowed down slightly because I was throwing the summons of pain, and you don't move at 100% speed when you do that, or 115, which is what he moves at. You don't move at maximum speed while you're doing that. So you slow down to throw chains. That way she can slow down. And then when she breaks free, you're basically both at the exact same place you were before you threw the chains. I like to think of this as the anti-dead hard, not just because it actually ruins and prevents people from using dead hard, but think of it as the same logic that you would think of with the dead hard. Throw chains, like if she's here and she dead hards right now, does she make it to anything before I make it to her? No. So dead harding here would be stupid for her. So therefore it's a bad time for you to throw chains as Pinhead. Now, if you get close to here, see, now she's in the tile. Now, if she dead hards here, she gets to either the window or she gets to that pallet over there. So you as Pinhead if it's a good time for the survivor to dead hard, if a dead hard would benefit them if they did at that moment, that's usually a good sign that it would be a good time for you to throw your summons of pain, to throw out a node. And as you see, when she was about to make this pallet, now she no longer makes it, and I get the hit. So hopefully that helps you, because that's when it started clicking to me when I was first learning this character. I was like, when do I throw these? Because I feel like I'm throwing a lot of useless chains. And when I thought of it as like a reverse dead hard, it started making a lot of sense to me on when I should throw that. Unfortunately, this other person just kind of like dies in the basement and nobody really goes for them, and it's really sad. As you can see here, I chain her, even though I know she's going to get the pallet for the same reason I said earlier, because now she's chained, and now she makes less distance as I break the pallet, and now look how much closer I am in chase. See? Case meet point. And I get the down for it, see? So don't even necessarily chain all the time, even just to get hits, but to kind of like save time in moments like that. It's kind of like Clown, where Clown you can throw down the yellow bottle and it speeds you up while you're like kicking something or picking someone up, so you can like, you know, zoom. It's kind of like the similar idea, like slow them down while you're doing something. That way you can save some time. Now here I go to look for Nia, and they're the last two in the game, so like I don't really want to hang out around Hook. But right about here, I realized, I'm like, wait, I need to figure out where the box is, because the chain hunt is still active. So I need to find the box before they do. And I think, well, where would be a good place based on our box logic? So away from that Hook, away from me, and away from Nia, because Nia didn't show up on barbecue, so she was nearby. So I go to one of the edges of the map, and voila, look, here is the box. Because it was away from all three of us. Now this is interesting because I see her over there, I get her bubble, but she actually completely sneaks by me here. Like, I don't know, like she was around here, around this little cubby back here, and like for some reason she without scratch marks, she runs all the way across the map. It was kind of bizarre. It was kind of interesting. I'm not really sure how that was a thing, but I do find out later she has sprint burst. So what she probably did is she snuck over to the backside of the map and then sprint bursted around the main building. That would probably make sense. I still feel like I would still see the scratch marks in the distance, but it was just odd. But yeah, that's just a little side tangent. So I'm looking for what happened. I see some scratch marks. Unfortunately, this does end up being the Michaela again, even though she's the one that just came off Hook. But Nia's kind of going Bravo 6 dark. She's stealthing it up now, so I can't really do anything there. So once again, I'm going to do the thing where I chain them. Now, this is a fun little mind game that I do here. So, funny thing, when a survivor is chained up, like I'm about to throw the summons of pain, chain them up. When a survivor is chained up, they still have the ability to drop pallets, to vault windows, but they can perform no fast actions. So they can't fast vault anything, including the pallets. So what I do here is I show my red stain around the corner here. So on her screen, she's seeing a red stain, and it shows itself right here. So she thinks she's in imminent danger, so she is going to vault. The problem is she's chained, so she slow vaults. So she's basically a sitting duck, and I get the free down. So if you can bait a survivor into taking that slow vault because they're chained, ooh, they are extremely vulnerable, and it's almost a guaranteed down. It's very, very nice. And she's dead here, unfortunately. So, another important thing, I do another example of box logic. I hook Michaela here. Let's rotate me around actually, for when I actually do the hook, because this is another good example of box logic. I hook Michaela here. So I hook Michaela here. So we're by this shack. And when I hook Michaela, I don't see anybody on barbecue at all. So that means that either she's in a locker or she's nearby. So that means we're all kind of in a circle together, theoretically, right? So if we need to go find the box, we're all theoretically around each other, right? So I need to go far out if I want to find the box. I don't need to be, because I check here for like Nia very, very briefly, because I'm like, well, I didn't see her on barbecue, so maybe she's hiding over here. But then I'm right back to the box. I'm thinking, okay, we're not in that circle. We're not on the back left side of the asylum. So it's somewhere near the top of the map. It has to be, because that's what's really, really far away from us. So that's what I start going and looking for there. So I start searching around for the box itself. And I find hatches out of the box, at least at first, which is really funny. Kind of great how that worked out. Now, finding the box doesn't really do much for us in this scenario. It doesn't start a chain hunt when there's a solo person, but it does reveal their bubble. So it's still helpful to come up here and find the box, because now I know where she is vaguely. So, yeah. It was still helpful to do that, because that essentially, you know, outs her on where she was hiding. But yeah, as you can see, I looked outside of this bubble where me, Michaela and her were, and I found the box again, because there's only a certain amount of like space it could be in, because it's not allowed to spawn near the players. So you can see how helpful that is. And this one's funny because the box has like a 3-second buffer when it's found. So it actually spawns almost in the exact same area, because by the 3 seconds we're up of me like activating the box and walking away, like I was in another position where it could, like, it was available to spawn almost in the exact same spot, which I just found funny. But yeah, that was a 4K of 5 gens, and that's mostly attributed to me hitting good summons of pain, knowing when to hit summons of pain, and being very, very consistent with the box logic and prioritizing finding the box over anything else. So like this, I felt this match like perfect. I was just thinking, because like the last 3 matches that I played, they were nice because I 4K'd, but I feel like I won those more because of like my general killer knowledge and not because I was doing things that were Pinhead specific. But I feel like my victories and the victory in this match was very Pinhead specific. So let's go over the main points for the things you should be doing as Pinhead and the things you should be doing to improve in Pinhead. Step 1. Hit your summons of pain. How do you hit your summons of pain? Throw your summons of pain right on top of the survivor, or right where you think they are going to go. Because most people, if they try to put the summons of pain close to the if people try to put their summons of pain far out from the survivor, it gives them a lot of wiggle room to dodge. It gives them a lot of wiggle room to dodge. So you want to put it really, really close to them or directly on top of them so you can confirm the hit and not have them dodge your summons of pain. Second, you need to understand box logic. If you don't know what box logic is, the box will never spawn near you or the survivors. So you got to look at the space where you and the survivors are not occupying and go to that space if you want to find the box. 3, hunt people down who have the box. You can harass them with chains to prevent them from finishing it. But the ultimate thing you should be doing is chasing the person with the box, because once you down them, you are able to start a chain hunt, which is probably your most powerful ability, and keeping that cycle of chain hunts active is very, very, very good. In this video, we had like 4 chain hunts going, and they were all super impressive, and I don't even have any add-ons. There are good add-ons that increase the rate that chain hunt even happens. So you can make this even worse than it was in this video. The last thing I really want to talk about is the teleport logic and like when I should teleport, when I shouldn't teleport. You should teleport the survivors that are injured. You should teleport the survivors that are by objectives that you would want to pressure, whether that be a gen or an unhook, so you can break up the heal. But other than that, if it's just a healthy survivor, they're out in the middle of nowhere and they're not near anybody else, it's kind of not a good idea typically to teleport to the box, because no chain hunt spawns off of when you teleport to a box. So you kind of want to prioritize, once again, starting as many chain hunts as possible. Okay, so those are my main tips on Pinhead and how to improve and become a better Pinhead player. If you have any other sort of character that you would like to see for these narrated matches, any sort of tips on perks, characters, certain maps, etc., please list them down in the comments below, and I will be happy to help you improve at one character or the other, or whatever you need help with. I would love to do some research and be able to help you walk away with some better tips. That way you can be a better DBD player out there in the fog. So put those down in the comments below. But other than that, I think that's going to be it for this video, friends. Thank you so much for watching today. But I do upload daily, so I will see you tomorrow. But if I don't see you tomorrow, I will see you when I see you, friends. Goodbye.